Thank you. Let us now welcome our brother. Thank you. Shall we give him a big hand?
Morning, everyone. Thanks for coming. Nice to see a large congregation here. Do you want to, and hi, everybody online. Do you want to show the people online, everybody who's here? You just switch the camera around just to say wave. So I encourage everybody who's online, last Sunday of the month, come here. It's a lovely community here, and they have a great lunch afterwards with fellowship. And I'm so happy to see the congregation growing bigger and bigger, and so many lovely, wonderful people. Okay, so perfecting the realm of liberation and complete freedom. So where does this little phrase come from then? Pledge. Any particular number, Sally Ann? Number 8. Well done. It's almost at the end. So I'll just review this. Family pledge number 8. So as you may know, I've been sort of working my way through the pledge for the last year. Our family, the owner of Chungaguk. So that's, as I mentioned before, is very significant. People think, well, you look around the world in which we're living and you watch the news, do you think we're living in Chungaguk? Is it heaven? All these wars and terrible things taking place? But it's our family, the owner of Chungaguk, so that is where we have to start creating Chungaguk within the family. We own Chungaguk. We're the owners of Chungaguk, not the government, not the United Nations, nobody else except for ourselves. Pledges having entered the era of Chungaguk to achieve the ideal of God and human beings united in love. So again, it's a unity in love and heart, through absolute faith, absolute love, and absolute obedience. So I looked at that last time, and just go back and have a look at that again. And to perfect the realm of liberation and complete freedom in the kingdom of God on earth and in heaven by centering on true love. So these words, freedom, it occurs quite a few times and liberation occurs quite a few times in the pledge. Obviously, the most common phrases and words are our family, owner of Chungaguk, and centering on true love. But then freedom occurs several times. When we looked at it there, and we're reading the pledge number 3 out, world based on freedom, peace, unity, and happiness. Yeah, so again, freedom is very important. Okay, so I looked at this last time, just to review it, the 3 absolutes. And sometimes people don't like the word absolute because we often interpret it with absolutism and basically with dictatorship. Absolutist governments have always been basically dictatorships. But it just means highest. So absolute faith in God and the principle. And C.S. Lewis said, faith is the art of holding on to things your reason has once accepted in spite of your changing moods. So all these phrases in the family pledge, they all come out of the Bible. As Father said, the family pledge is there's lots of sort of, what do you call these little phrases? Some of my brain's not working very well these days. Sound bites? Yeah, like lots of little sound bites. And you think, well, what's that little sound bite mean? Absolute faith. And so to understand what these little sound bites mean, these little phrases, you have to think, well, where do they come from? Well, Father said all these things, they come from the Bible. They come from the patriarchs. And who's the father of faith? I talked about last time. Not here, but somewhere else. It was Abraham. Abraham is the father of faith. So if you want to understand what absolute faith means, we need to look at the faith of Abraham. And all the things in the Bible, all these phrases, they're all based upon stories. There's always a story behind everything. Behind all the laws, there's always a story. It's not just a law which is there. So sometimes people say, why is this law here? And the answer is not, well, because the government made it. that law exists because there's a story. Some people behaved in a certain kind of way. People felt, well, it's not very good if people behave in this kind of way. We should have a law against it. So there's a story explaining the meaning and the purpose behind all laws. And then if we can understand these stories, then we can understand the meaning and purpose of the laws and the phrases. So the same with the family pledge and the same with the principle. Behind it is a story. And the story here was, as I talked about before, was how Abraham discovered God. He went through all kinds of trials and tribulations. But the way he discovered God was by reason. He thought about it. And he came to the story that goes along with that. I'm not going to tell it again. The story that goes along with that explains how he worked out that there is a first cause. And logically, he came to the conclusion God exists. Otherwise, it's not possible to explain why there is a world or why there's a universe. Yeah? Without that. And so he came to that logical conclusion. But then he was threatened by Nimrod, the dictator, and told he had to renounce this faith in God. And he had to say that actually Nimrod, the dictator, was God. And he refused to do that, even at the risk of his life. And so sometimes that's what happens. Sometimes people lose faith. It's not that they've come to the logical conclusion that God doesn't exist. It's because they've gone through all kinds of emotional turbulence and troubles and difficulties, and they think, well, if God existed, he wouldn't allow this to happen. And so sometimes people lose their faith in God because of something, because of changing moods. You know? It's like sometimes people can't get on an aeroplane. It's not that they haven't stood there and watched an aeroplane. You can stand there at the airport and you can watch 1,000 aeroplanes take off and 1,000 aeroplanes land, and there's never an accident. It's actually the safest form of transport is to fly. But then sometimes people, when they get to the point of trying to go into the aeroplane, they're scared, they're frightened. So what's happened there? They're frightened, but is that logical? No. Reason, based upon reason and experience, they know, they watched all these planes taking off and landing, and you can read books about aerodynamics and all the science behind it, and you can know this aeroplane will fly, even though it's heavier than air, because of various things I can't explain. And when people actually are afraid of flying, that fear is like a changing mood. Their reason realizes, oh, actually it's safe, but they have some kind of irrational fear. So fear then is irrational. These kind of doubts. Where was it? There's a phrase, that doubts and fears. Where was that? In one of the songs we sung, wasn't it? Was it? This morning I heard that phrase. It was in one of the songs, wasn't it? Sorry, my short-term memory is pretty corrupted. Anyway, sorry? No, you're still okay. We're all in good company then. And if I say something controversial, it doesn't matter because everybody will have forgotten it by the time they go home. Anyway, so it's these kind of doubts and fears then which are irrational, and that's what lack of faith is in that sense. Anyway, so Abraham then, he had absolute faith in God, despite what was going on and the principle, and God promised him that he'd have a son, and he never lost faith and trust in God. And then absolute love, as we looked at, the story of Abraham is absolute love for your enemies. So when God came to Abraham and said, I'm going to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah, Abraham didn't say, great, fantastic, justice at last. Those evil people are finally going to be put to death by God, and finally there's justice in this world. And he didn't say, he wasn't really happy to hear that news, which is the way sometimes people do react when they hear that something terrible is going to happen to one of their enemies, or they hear something terrible has happened to one of their enemies. They feel happy, evil, joy, and happiness. Yeah. Okay, so he wasn't like that. He actually argued with God and persuaded God not to do it if he could find 10 good people there. So he loved his enemies. He loved the other. And that's why Jesus said, love your enemies and pray for those that persecute you. Yeah. Love your enemies. Doesn't mean you need to like your enemies. Don't have to like these people, but you have to love them. which means you have to care about their well-being. Yeah, and that's a big distinction between liking and loving. You can love somebody who you hate. Well, no, not hate. Anyway, somebody who's your enemy does lots of nasty things to you. You find this person has been, knocked over by a car. You don't think, well, that's good. I'm so happy to see that. But actually, you should love your enemy, and you go along and you help them and call an ambulance and look after them. You don't have to like them, but you do have to love them. So that's loving your enemies. Pray for those that persecute you. And finally, it was the absolute obedience. And this is the big O word, which often turns people off. So absolute obedience to conscience. So Father said, to what does the revolution of conscience refer? This is an inner revolution in which we must practice absolute obedience to the voice of our conscience. Yeah? So that's what Father said over and over again, absolute obedience to the voice of our conscience. Listen to your conscience. The word obey itself means listen to. We have to listen to our conscience. So Father never said absolutely obey your leader. He never said absolutely obey the government. He's never said absolutely obey me. He said absolutely obey and follow your conscience. Yeah. So when we read these phrases, we need to understand where they come from. And so that was the case with Abraham. Absolutely obeyed and listened to his conscience. So when God told Abraham to sacrifice his son, Abraham was willing to do it. Why? Because his conscience told him it was the right thing to do. And I talked about that story before. So that's what he was absolutely obeying, was his conscience. Not absolutely obeying God, but just he knew that God had a right to ask him to do this. So if we go back, so that's what is absolute obedience to conscience. So the conscience then means you not, anyway, as Paul will talk about, it's not just doing what you want to do, it's doing what you ought to do. Big difference here. Oh, I want to do this. Yeah, I know you want to do it, but ought you to do it? Should you do it? Yeah, and that's the difference in terms of vocabulary. And to perfect the realm of liberation and complete freedom in the kingdom of God on earth and in heaven by centering on true love. So if we come to Paul, it is for freedom that Christ has set us free. Well, it's interesting. Yeah, you, my brothers and sisters, were called to be free. I don't know which version you had, Ron, but it's the sisters is there as well. It is for freedom that Christ has set us free. So there's this idea of liberation and complete freedom. Yeah, liberation, that's the free part. Christ has set us free, and it is for freedom that Christ has set us free. So complete freedom. And so again, you might think, oh, what is complete freedom? Does that just mean I can do whatever I want to do? Well, St. Paul said, if you do not use your freedom to indulge the flesh, but rather serve one another humbly in love. So again, you have this idea of freedom. And I've talked about this before. The English word freedom is a combination of two words. One is free. You can do anything. And the other, dom, means law. So you can do anything you like within the law. And so where should the law be planted? So with Moses, it was, reveal the 10 Commandments and all the other commandments. But then Moses later on, he said, a time will come when there'll be a new covenant where the law will be written in our hearts. That's the realm where you're just living entirely according to conscience. You're not having to think, oh, I better not kill this person I can see. Yeah? If you're living a good life, as St. Paul said, that you're not constrained by law. You're not thinking, not walking down the street and you see someone and you think, oh, I better not murder this person. I better not rob this person. Yeah? There are some people who are like that. They're walking along the street and they see there's a car door which looks unlocked, and so they just open the door and they go and take whatever's in there. Or they see a window open in a house and they think, wow, this is an opportunity for me to go and rob this person. Yeah? So those are the people for whom the law is necessary. They need to know, actually, it's the wrong thing to do. But if you're living according to the law of love, and the spirit, then you don't think about this. You don't think I mustn't go and rob somebody. You don't think I better not go and steal somebody. You don't think about all these things, because these things never enter into your mind, because you're just following and living according to your conscience. And when you're doing that, you're completely free. You can do whatever you want to do. You're free in the spirit. You can do anything you like, because everything you want to do is within the realm of your conscience anyway. Make sense? So not having to struggle with my conscience, I really want to do this, but I better not do it because my conscience says I shouldn't. But actually, you're just doing whatever you want, and everything you want to do is good anyway. Yeah, that's just the way it should be. And the other thing I found interesting here about indulging the flesh was what he described as, it says here, you're not to do whatever you want. If you're led by the Spirit, you're not under the law. So if you're led by the Spirit, you're not having to think about observing the law all the time. You just, in that sense, you're above the law. And so the law is only there really for criminals, to keep them in check and to, stop people following their fallen nature. And so I found this is interesting. The acts of the flesh are obvious. So, there's these ones, sexual morality and greed and everything. But also he's added on there idolatry and witchcraft and hatred, discord, jealousy, fits of rage, selfish ambition, etc., etc. So I thought, that's interesting. Those are all things he regards as being, connected to the flesh. So I was wondering, well, how's that? So, if you become very... So all these things, a lot of these are just are feelings. Hatred, jealousy, fits of rage, selfish ambition. So when you feel jealousy, where do you feel it? In your heart. Is it just an idea in your mind? Is it just an intellectual thing? It's an emotional thing. And where do we experience emotions? In our physical body, don't we? Yeah? We feel these things. So when you're having a fit of rage, you can actually see someone having a fit of rage because you can see it in the face. And then, you get angry, and first of all, your fists start to clench, yes, and you start to have this feeling growing within your body. So all these emotions then, in that sense, they're all connected to the flesh. Yeah. So that's... Oh dear. Oh, that was a short one. And so these again, it's all to do with mind and body. But so all these things are not just physical things; all the emotions we feel. So often we talk about the principle in a dualistic way, thinking that mind and body are two separate things. But actually, we're an integrated person, and the body is just an outward expression of the mind. And so that all the things that we feel in our mind, you might say, actually we experience all these things through our physical body. Like, as I said, jealousy and hatred and anger. And also love, of course. When you feel love, is it just an intellectual thing? No, again, we feel it in our body. Whole body and changes. We feel it in our heart. And all these things are all connected to our body. So we're an integrated being. And so, anyway, the fruit of the Spirit then is love, joy, peace, forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Against such things there is no law. So as Paul says, the law there is there basically to check people's fallen nature. Whereas if you're living according to the Spirit, you don't need to think about these things. And, the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. And wish I was like that. Anyway, if you ask my wife, she'll tell me, no, doesn't tick any of those boxes. And so I can't really talk in front of my wife very comfortably about all these things. Oh, hi, Patrick. Welcome. Good. So that's... and so when we're living like this, really it's like living in the kingdom of heaven. So, the more I read the Family Pledge and the more I realize there's something behind it and how to try to find meaning behind it and what's going on, more I realized I need to, study these Bible stories, because there's a story behind everything. And, we ask something, why? Why is this here? There's always a story behind it. And that's the basis of science. There's always stories behind what goes on. Theory of evolution, that's a story about how things evolved and developed. And story about how the universe developed. All these things have got stories, and then it becomes much more interesting, much more meaningful. So when you read the family pledge, sometimes you read it, it's just really abstract and very dense, just a lot of little sound bites. So we need to. So the reason why I've been, going through it now for the last year is try and understand. Well, behind all these little sound bites and phrases, there are stories, and it's these stories which we need to understand, which we need to embrace, and which we need to live with. Okay, it's a rather short sermon, but I know you're all happy for me to stop. No? Anyway, yeah. And then we can have some more fellowship together. So thank you all very much, and God bless you. I'll pull this out? Yeah. I'll pull this out.
We quote you when we have a chat with the leader we disagree with.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Come on, let's give our brother one big hand again. Thank you. Let's have a moment of reflection. Now, this is normally the time we share what the good Lord has done in your life over the past weeks or month. You want to share to inspire others. And we're going to call on our sister Brigitte. She was in London. She was in Korea. So she's coming to share with us very briefly. Now, let us give a big hand to Brigitte to give us some sharing.
Thank you. I'm not used to this. Please, just bear with me. I'm trying to be short like Uncle William. When I was in Korea, Brother Ron sent me a message that, can you come give a testimony in our Sunday service? I'm like, sorry, I cannot fly now from Korea to come to Romford. So I'm still in Korea. And then I say, okay, maybe next time. I'm like, that next time will never come. And then when I came back last week, then I keep asking my husband, I'm like, did Uncle Ron say anything? Is there service? Yeah, I say, oh yeah. I said, did he say anything about me? Then he said, no. I'm like, yes. Then on Friday, around 12, I check, I'm like, he sent a message, now you are back now. Can you come and give a testimony? I'm like, no, really. But I just try my best. I like to go to Champion. When after COVID, I really felt that I want to go to Champion, but then Champion was closed. I didn't go. And then I forget about that. I didn't know when they did open again for the public. I thought only leaders are going. And then last year, I think around December, and then Dr. Balcom announced that in May they're going to open the Holy Temple. Anybody is invited to go. Then I said, oh, is it open to the public? Then I just said, okay, I will go. But I didn't know when. And then around December, we went to South London to do Changyang because it was a Chambo event. I saw the Japanese sister, and then they go to Chongpyeong a lot. So I asked, is anybody go to Chongpyeong? Then they told me, one sister is going, but she's not here. I'm like, oh, I want to take a number. Then they gave me the number. I found out that it's a sister that I know very well. We went to Chongpyeong with her also a couple of times. So she sent me all her flight information because I didn't want to go from the airport to Chongpyeong on my own. It's a little bit difficult. So we link up then. We left here on the 2nd of May. Then we arrived there on the 3rd, around 5 something. On our way, then we met other brothers and sisters. Kieran was there, Cecilia was there, and other people. We all went in one plane, one flight. It was really nice. So we arrived there. We went to, the spot where we take the coach to go to Chongpyeong to see if there is any kind of transportation. Then we saw this brother with a paper and a pen. Then he came to us and said, are you a VIP? Are you VIP? I'm looking for VIP. I'm like, do we look like one to you? And then Cecilia said, of course you look like one. I'm like, no. And then he said, well, the transportation is only for people that book as a group in Europe. Thank you. The people that book in a group from Europe headquarters, they have transportation. Or VIP, they have transportation. But any other person, you have to find your own way to the training center. It was already after 5, going to 6. Likely that sister daughter is in Korea there, study there. And then she called her, send us the map, how to go. So we started running at the airport, quick, go buy the ticket and go get the coach. One coach, the first one, we take 2 hours, and then we take the last one, 1 hour. We arrive in Chongpyeong almost midnight. Even though you've been in Chongpyeong many times, but every time I go there, you feel yourself lost. Too many people, it's at night, where should I go? Where is the bathroom? Things like, but still a very good feeling, still. Second generation we saw there, they help us to find a place to sit down, to put our suitcase. And also we were kind of lucky that, not that lucky that the Japanese didn't come, but lucky that we have a space because the Japanese sisters, they didn't come at that time because of the problem in Japan. So their space where they stay, they give to international. It looked posh to us because normally we stay in the basement or in the hall down there with brothers and sisters, But this time, we were just us, international, in that hall. So no one in the hall. And I'm like, where's everybody? I don't know. Then we managed like that and we sleep. Around 2 o'clock, I saw too many people came, brothers and sisters. I'm like, where are they from? They are there. The bed were there, but they were not there. Not knowing that there is this vigil prayer going on every 10 p.m. till 1 in the morning. So after 1, then they will come to sleep. I'm like, how did they know that? In the morning, we try to go to register. And then they say, whatever workshop you came here for, as an international, you're going to join the 40 days of international workshop. So we all join. You can stay there 3 days if you want, or 1 week, or 3 weeks, or whatever, but you join that program. The atmosphere was really nice. My purpose to go to Chongpyeong, really, it was not to go because of the Holy Temple. That is something is coming. Even if I don't go when they are opening, I will find another time to go. But my purpose to go in Chompiong was like, I wanted a time in my life where I could be just myself with God and true parent. I wanted a time to recoup myself. I felt that there's a lot has been going on in my life. So I'm like, I'm going to Chompiong. I'm not interested to be going too many places. As people will say, we're going there, we're going to Good Soul, we're going. I'm like, I like to be in the center, in the training center. And I go to the prayer hall, I went to the mountain, I will drink water, I will just, that atmosphere, I just want to be there. I like it. And it was so nice. It was April, the flowers were everywhere. The wind were blowing in the morning, fresh, you feel really fresh air in the morning, different to here. And then the spiritual side, it was so nice, brothers and sisters. This visual prayer is really something like, long time in our church, we never experienced something like that. When we went in the first time, we didn't know what I'm gonna, to see. And you will see how brothers and sisters, the Korean team, how they are leading this visual prayer. The way they are praying is like they want to break something. They're telling people, you have to be strong and pray loud and strong. And people are crying, my God, the first time it was really eyes open. You see how people are coming from Korea. I don't know if all of them are members. They're coming to that. People are giving testimony, how that prayer helped them, how the Chonchimon prayer hall become the center of the providence, how people are coming from other churches to come just to be in that spot, that hall, Chonchimon prayer hall. So it was so nice. You look around how Mother is putting her heart really to develop the place. In the morning, the breakfast, sometimes you have egg that I never saw in Chompiong. There is a fridge, there is a microwave egg. You can make your own toast, you can make your own egg fry, you eat, and you look around, the development around is just, you see the heart of True Mother, how much she's really, really want us to feel even comfortable to be there, and how much she wants us really to feel that she's our mother, not just a spiritual leader. Honestly, as long as you stay there, you go to that prayer hall all the time, you listen to the lecture, you stay longer, you feel the presence of a true parent closer to you. You really feel that this is the place, this place belongs to us. This is where God really created us to be with true parents, really. In fact, they tell us, it's good to say true parent, but they encourage us in the, during our lecture to always say like true father and true mother, because parents can be adopted parent or someone, but right now we are the children of true father and true mother, so we have to feel that kind of things. So with the attitude I went there, I was thinking, since COVID, I went through a lot. I'm like, am I going to survive in Chompiong on my own? It's nobody to go with me. My husband have to stay for the family. I have no one to go with me. I have to go on my own. I'm like, how am I going to manage? But by my surprise, I'm telling you, I was strong like something else. We got to bed almost 2. By 5:30, I was already up. I have a lot of energy. I went to the mountain anytime I want. Everywhere I was there. When they opened this beautiful garden, I didn't know, somebody just told me that, yes, Mother gonna be there. I'm like, really? I go quick, I change, I start running with one brother from Africa. We run, then when we arrive in that place, the leaders were already there. They line up, red carpet leaders. Then I look at myself and I'm like, how on earth am I gonna be able to take even one picture There were many on line, tall people. I stand there behind them on the line, and my man said, why don't you run quickly at the end of it? Maybe you will have a way to take a picture. And they are like this, like this, too many people. I ran quick, and then I just saw this lady, very tall, another one tall, but little space here between them, just here. Then I just put my head in there and my camera in there. I just stayed there. I took a lot of pictures. Mother was coming. Mother went and cut the ribbon and the red carpet. And then I loud pray. I thank Heavenly Father. I'm like, I came here just to be with true parents, with God. So whatever possible, a place where I need to go, I will go. I didn't feel any pain in my body, nothing. I was really connected. I love Chompiong this time. It's been different to all the time that I went. So at the end of, because I went for just 3 weeks, at the end of my, the third week, I felt that I don't want to just go yet. I want to do another 3 weeks. So I want to do 40 days. So they were told to send a message to my husband and say, okay, I will manage to change your ticket, which was not that easy and expensive. But he did. I'm really grateful for that. So when I went to the office to change my ticket, in my surprise, the queue was very long. All those people were changing their ticket. Those that went for 40 days, they want another 40 days. Those that went for 3 weeks, they want another 3 weeks to make it 40. I'm like, wow. So we changed our ticket. The second 3 weeks was really, really good. I was thinking, was I really be able to go and see the place where Father, the resting place of Father this time? I look at the schedule, it's not saying anything. But one day, they just told us, it was a Friday, that Monday, we're going to go to Mother's house, to the palace. So we prepare ourselves during the weekend, some cumbers and some conditions to go there. Then on Monday, daytime, we went in the van. And our leader is a mixed child. The mother is from Korea and the father is from the Philippines. But he grew up on the Philippines. He speaks English very well and Korean also. So he's the one who was going everywhere with us. So we went to Mother's house, and then before going inside, we went to see Father's resting place. It's just in that compound, but behind Mother's house. It was so emotional place. You feel people really crying, praying, and quiet, and so beautiful. So we came back from there, then we went inside Mother's house. Well, those who have been there already, you know how beautiful that place is. It's like not a place on earth, but actually it's on earth. It's a very good place, really. So we went in, look around, and then we went to the cafe. There is one cafe there. So we ate something. We went down around there. We look. And another day, our leader said, we're going to go to the mountain. That mountain opposite the training center. I don't know what's the name of it. Jonathan, do you know the name of it? Oh, I don't know the name. And then they said, those who have a health issue, don't even try to go. It's not like the way you go to the tree of life or the tree of blessing. That is really mountain steep. 1 hour to go and 1 hour to come down. What? I'm like, I'm going. So we went, and it's not a joke. It's a mountain. Or we're going to go where Father used to go with his disciple and sit down to pray, to preach, and to do many things. So it was around 2:30. It was hot back then. But we went. Really is a hard work. The whole body was shaking. It's no place to hold. Some other places, little bit of steps, and then that's it. nothing. People like you are crawling, holding, just going, using a little stick, using a bottle of water to go up. Then we made, but to my surprise, as I said, I was the fourth person to reach up at the place. I reached there with tears. People were crying. It was real. I'm like, Father used to come here many times. Then I saw a tree there. As my body was really shaking, I went to that tree. I just leaned on the tree like that. And then the leader waited for everybody to come. So we were there. And then he came, then he said, actually, the place where Sister Brigitte is sitting, that's where Father used to sit down to preach. I'm like, oh, thank you, Heavenly Father. I'm really so grateful this time in Chompion. We went to another garden where Father used to go and preach to see this rock. And then we went, as I said, I was full of energy. I'm always the fourth person to reach wherever destination we are going. So when the leader came, all those that went in the first where we were sitting, that's where Father was sitting when he was going at night to pray. I'm like, thank you. I've seen many things that Heavenly Parents and our true parents, they really see us. Whatever we're going through, it doesn't matter what it is. They really see us. And they have their own way to reach us. And they have their heart, how to console us. Of course, we always think that we have to console true parents, but it's a relationship. We do our bit as children, and they do their bit as parents. I've seen the heart of parents in Chompion in many, many ways. I can hear all the time, like the voice of true parents keep telling me, I love you too. It doesn't matter what you go through, you went through. I still love you, I do. So, so grateful to true parents. One time, I saw one brother from Congo. Then we were talking. Then I remember before joining the church, there is one, I used to look after blessed children. The first one was with a Korean couple, which I stayed like almost a year. And then I went to the second one, is a Congolese couple. And then I look after a boy. Well, I went to their family when the mother was pregnant. We did all the conditions together for that baby. When the baby came out, I looked after that baby for 2 years. Then they helped me to go to the blessing. And that boy, now, we lost contact for quite a while. And then later on, I learned that he's in Korea. So I managed to contact him, to send him because we had a really, really good bond with that boy. And his mother always talked to him about me. So I sent a WhatsApp message, and then he responded. Then he came quick, like after a day to see me. 3 hours drive, he said. And then we hugged each other, and then my heart was so happy. I've been so happy many times. I felt the heart of true parents lifting me up in many, many ways. I made very good friends, 4 friends in Chompion. A brother from Iceland, a sister from the Philippines, who don't even know me. When he just saw me, he said, oh, sister, where are you from? Give me a big hug. We started talking, and they became my good friend. He's the one that changed the candle in Chonchimon Prayer Hall. So he changed the candle, and she cleaned there. I met another sister from the Zambia. So many, many, many good things happened this time in Chompion. As Mother is calling us all the time that we have to unite with Mother. You wake up in the morning, you feel you have to go to the mountain. Of course, we go to the prayer hall to pray and wherever, but you go to the mountain, you face where mother's house is, the palace, and then you start praying, people praying that way. People do all kind of conditions. So I'm really, really, really grateful, really grateful. It doesn't matter what we're going through. We don't have to forget that true parent they are seeing, heavenly parent they are seeing. It doesn't matter what it is. Mother is our role model. If I look at the mother's life, we went to Champerdon also. And I was so happy to go to that place and see all the rooms. They show us how much mother used to stay in the kitchen because the only room have a heater is mother's room. When father is having a meeting with the leaders, mother have to go to the kitchen or the bathroom to stay in the cold. And then they stay in the warm place to make this meeting. So you feel how much our true parent, father especially, how he sacrificed himself to make this foundation where we are, this foundation where we are following right now, especially for someone like me. I'm so grateful, forever. So it doesn't matter how life is, how people look at me, how people say about me. I just know that God and the true parent, they love us. Mother keep going, regardless of the situation mother is going through with our own family, with the members, with the providence. He's still our mother of peace, strong. So we have to follow that and keep going. So that's the lesson I learned. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you.